What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is Lake Mead. Let's fish that. Alright guys, so the wife and I, we made our way out here to the spot between Boulder Harbor and Moon Cove. We're kind of in between the two spots, and the plan for today is going to be fishing for whatever is willing to bite. Now at the moment it can be very difficult to find fish here at Lake Mead, especially because of the spawn. Some fish are spawning, some fish aren't spawning. The fish are all in different types of behaviors. But to add to that confusion, we had the water levels here in Lake Mead rise up to 9 feet, and the reason for that is some water being released from Lake Powell. They opened the gates at Glen Canyon Dam for 72 hours to try and get some of the sediment out of the Colorado River, and the effect of that is the waters here in Lake Mead rising up to an estimated 9 feet. Now if you kind of think about it, if something like bass were in 3 feet of water sitting there on their beds and suddenly the water rises, that bed is now 12 feet deep, and it's quite confusing for these fish. They either have to move around or be happy where they are, and that can complicate the fishing a bit. And for that reason, that is why we're fishing for whatever is willing to bite out there today. But before I show you the setups that we're using out there, this happened.
So Vernon literally just cast this rod in maybe like 5 minutes and already had a bite.
Alright ladies and gents, still busy setting up. Don't have the right microphone and stuff yet, so the sound might be bad on this. Luckily the wind's not blowing yet, but we have a little fish on. This is on my carp setup on some corn, so it should be a little carp. Now we have a bit of a ledge that we're fishing on, so thinking this fish might be difficult to land, going to try and walk him over to a bit of a shallower part so we can try and get him in the net. Not yet seen the fish, but he's putting up a good fight. There is in fact a decent looking carp. He still has some power in him, so we'll let him tire out some more. We got two other carp following this one. There they go into deep water. Let's see if we can get this one close to the net. There we go. Well, I've got him.
Nice start.
Held up. And there we are, first fish for today landed. Decent carp. Thanks to the wife for landing this one in a bit of a precarious spot to be in. But let's quickly get the hook out of that fish and have a look at him.
You're barely hooked in that lower lip.
Just a small piece of the hook in the lip. If the drag wasn't loose on this rod, that fish would have ripped out that hook. And there we are. Smallish carp, but decent length and quite heavy. Gonna get him back to the water. We don't want him to be out too long. I think these fish are busy with their spawn. That's why there were other carp following this one. So let's get him back to the water.
Why skinny?
Alright, so to release this fish, gonna drop him head first into the water. And off he goes. So back down deep. These fish, we've been seeing them up shallow, but that one was in deep, casting in deep. That's where we're getting him. Thinking the ones up shallow are already spawning. so rather casting into the deep water. Alright, so very happy that we got that fish, but we are finally all set up and ready to start filming. Now today we're going to be using everything out there, see what we can find. On the first rod, the one on the side, that is my carp setup, using normal oats, corn and jello pack bait with some corn on the hooks out there to see if the carp are feeding. Having already gotten that one, it's a good sign, but the other carp we're seeing swimming around, they're swimming in little packs, so I think they're pretty busy either spawning or pre-spawn or post-spawn, so it all depends on what fish finds the hooks. The second rod we got out there that has some anchovies, hoping for some stripers or maybe some catfish. This particular spot we have, there's a little shallow shelf, that's why the carp are in this area. It's the shallow shelf part, and then on this side there's a deeper drop off into deeper water. That's why we're trying for the stripers on this side with the carp on that side. Now having a look around, seeing quite a lot of carp, but not seeing any bass up shallow. So thinking we're going to have to be using our lures and stuff in the deeper water to see if we can find any other species out there. Maybe some smallmouth at the edge of this deep drop off. Getting some hits on the anchovies one, but it didn't set off the hook setter. I think they stole a little baits on that one. So maybe going to have to rebait that one. So while I have the second rod out, I can show you what I'm doing. On the one hook we have a piece of anchovy, and on the second hook we have some night crawlers, hoping for some channel catfish as well, or maybe some carp or bluegill, anything like that. We're willing to go for the night crawlers. So let's get that back out to the water. So automatic hook setter went off, but I'm not seeing anything pulling, so I don't think we managed to catch that fish. So rebait, get it back out there. Alright, so with all this activity on the rods, I don't think we can go too far away from our rods, seeing as how they're getting hits all the time. But on our second setups, we're going to be throwing around some lures, see if we can find some different fish, maybe some bass. And for that reason, I wanted to do something a tad bit different. Wanted to use some Lunger Hunt finesse worms or something. That's something I haven't used before, but the wife has been throwing this one around for a while, and there's quite a lot of grass getting stuck with the entire time. So rather than throwing that, she went over to little robo worm. The only reason for that is a weedless setup. It's a lot easier to get this through the weeds than having this little Nedrick style thing getting stuck on the weeds everywhere. So rather going for something like that, seeing if we can get some smallmouth bass out there. And on my second rod, I'm going to go for a little paddle tail imitation thing, see if we can get some bass to be aggressive towards something like this. So going to be throwing that out there. If we have any action, we'll bring you guys to it. Alright guys, so the wife is on a fish and it looks to be a decent one. He's pulling a lot of line. Now we're trying to get the fish on this side because it's easier for us to land the fish here. But the problem is this fish will be going wherever it wants to go. We have to fight it first. Once it's tired, we can bring it in.
Is this real?
Well, thing is, with the fish this time of the year, if they're post-spawn, they should be quite skinny, but pre-spawn fish should be quite heavy, and we're struggling with this one, so this might be a pre-spawn one. We're using 15-pound test line for this carp. That's why we have the drag on the reel a bit loose. This fish needs to be able to take line. If we don't, there's always a chance of that hook popping out of its mouth.
Or the line snapping if it's really big.
Or the line snapping. Nice decent bend in the rod from this fish. But so far he's been very relaxed. He's not splashing around or anything. We haven't seen him at the surface yet.
Trying to get it away from that rod. But he seems intent.
No matter how hard the wife is trying to keep it away from the second rod, that fish is swimming that way. That means maybe we need to go fight it on that side first and then bring it here once it's tired.
Whee! Yes.
This fish only now realizing it's hooked or something. This is the fun part of fishing, fighting these fish. Still has some fight in him.
Some.
Now for the last couple of weeks we've been struggling with carp. It seems like they're not always feeding. You can see quite a lot of them swimming around here up shallow. I think they're kind of busy with their spawn. Some are finished, some are starting, some will only start in a few weeks. So it's good to get some carp at least. Wasn't really planning on catching that many carp out here today, but happy to get any fish, we'll take it. This is the fun thing about carp fishing. Yes, they might not be the most sporty of fish, but a big carp like this can put up a decent fight, making it fun to fight them. And the fish is finally at the top. This is really a big one. I don't know whether it will fit in the net.
I don't think so. I think I should go down.
But we'll see what we can do.
BB.
Maybe. There's another fish following this carp as well. Go and see if it's another carp. Should be another carp.
Another 2 carp following it.
3 or 4 carp, more of them schooling all together. They're thinking this is a female wanting to lay her eggs, so they're all schooling up on her. But this is a good fish. It'll be worth the fight if this is a PB for the wife.
Definitely. Feels it. Take over here that I get down to the water.
So rather than me taking the cameras and stuff into the water, I'm just gonna grab the reel. I'm just gonna grab the rod and reel from the wife, and she's gonna get down to the water so she can land the fish.
You can fight it still a bit, but I think it's gonna be my PB.
So we'll just wait till this fish is a bit more tired. He still looks to have a few runs in him. Most likely in her. You can see the smaller carp. Those are most likely males, and this one might be a female.
Big girl.
This is maybe why she went for a corn. She's maybe post spawn. She doesn't look that fat or that big. And of course, after they spawn, they're very hungry and they're willing to feed. And I think that's what we're seeing out here today.
Yo, this fish.
Now, quite ironically, when making these carp baits, the wife regularly complains about the smell of the sweet corn and stuff. She doesn't like the smell of the baits, but I'm sure she's more than happy about the smell
Yep.
when she gets to fish like this.
Yep. Yep.
Alright, so this fish looks to be tiring out some. Still gonna try and make a few breaks, but you can see it's no longer as long a run as it used to be. So she's starting to tire out some. Right, so we're gonna try with the lip gripper on this fish. It's a bad idea to use a lip gripper on carp, but you don't want to get them on the lips. You want to put that thing deep into the mouth. If you put it on the lips will tear out. That just gives us a way to kind of keep the fish with one hand and lift the tail. You always want to support the body weight, especially with big fish. Alright, so that's
I'm not even gonna lift her out.
I think you can just quickly lift her out of the water, just so we get a nice look at the fish.
By far my BB.
Yeah, nice big fish. We're not really going to try and get a weight measurement on this fish back in the water, especially maybe she may still have some eggs in her or something. We don't want to cause the fish harm, so we're not going to take her out of the water and try and measure her, but by far the wife's biggest fish.
Just hold her to revive a little bit.
Not quite 6 feet, more like 5 foot fish.
5 foot.
Maybe 4 foot. But that's a decent carp. Good job, nice fish landed. Alright, so it will be very hard for this camera to see, I think, but with my polarized glasses I can see pretty good into the water, and I can see that on this side there's quite a shallow flat. This entire area, this is the Boulder or Hemingway beaches, quite shallow in this area, so this entire area is quite shallow, and then over here we have a big drop off into some deeper water. Now I can see some dark spots in between on this little flat side. The dark spots are the grass. There are open spaces in between the grass, but a lot of grass here in the shallower water, whereas here in the deeper water, that's where I'm thinking most of the bass and stuff would be. Problem we're having at the moment is getting our lures all the way out to where I think the fish might be. There's a rather sizable little incline on this side, meaning you have to get your lures out quite far to get into the deeper water. This entire area is a bit hilly, and the same thing continues into the water. You have this drop-off effect down to the deeper water, and you have to get your lures out far enough to get to the fish, and we're struggling with that at the moment. And we're not seeing any bass up shallow at the moment, only seeing quite a lot of carp, and we have some carp swimming by here. A lot of carp. The carp seem to be all up shallow, so I'm thinking the carp might be some of them post-spawn, some of them pre-spawn, some of them spawning. I think we're catching the post-spawn ones. Alright, while we're waiting for this one, our automatic hook setter popped off. This time, however, we have a fish on there. Again, this is little night crawlers and anchovy, so this can be anything. Feeling quite a lot of head shakes, so maybe a little channel catfish. But we won't know unless we get him closer. Just want to move over to our little landing spot. Feeling some good head shakes, but there is some weight to this fish, but it is a channel catfish. And there we go, catfish in the net. We got him hooked nice in the little lip there.
Dark coloration.
So Lovely little channel catfish. This one is not as gold as they tend to be. This one is starting to turn more darker colors. Lovely fat belly on this one. Still can see some of the spots on him. Good little channel catfish. We're going to get him back to the water. So rather than just dropping this one head first because of the barbs on them, that can be quite dangerous, thinking of putting this guy in the net. So now I'm just going to lower him back to the water, and off he goes. Good quick kick, and he's going down back to the deep waters. Alright, ladies and gents, every time I go out fishing, I pack my little tackle box. Every time I bring along what I think is needed, and this time around I packed it with quite a lot of bass gear, thinking of course that the bass fishing would be pretty good. I mean, a week ago Sin City, they did a video out here and they caught quite a lot of smallmouth bass, and that got me thinking that maybe these bass are up shallow, would be easy to catch them. And lo and behold, it turned out to be a carp video. Well, carp and catfish, but that was something that I thought was not going to happen. I thought the carp were busy with their spawn. We've seen quite a lot of carp in this area, big schools schooling around. Maybe they're busy spawning, maybe some of them are post spawn, that's why we could get some carp. But that just shows that we're heading into the summer pattern where catfish and carp are good species to try and target, and that is one very important thing. Even though I was thinking about what type of fish it was I want to get out there today, had I not brought along the carp stuff, or maybe even some night crawlers, it would have been a completely different day. And that's the thing I want to get through to you guys in this video. Had I just used the anchovies out there today, wouldn't have had any good luck. So sometimes it's a good idea to just see what's willing to bite. Try fishing for anything. Yes, it is important to still be thinking about the fish, what fish are doing, how active they would be, but it never hurts to try something different, because you might just find the new pattern that's working and find those fish. And that being said, still had good fun out there. Happy that both me and the wife got on some fish. Even though she caught a bigger one and outfished me, we still had a good time out there. And I think that's where we're going to call this video. I want to thank you guys for following along. Please do give me a little thumbs up for all the fish we caught. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. And if you're wondering how to actually catch carp, never be afraid to use corn. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button, joining my community. Alright guys, but thank you for watching, and like always, I'll see you next time.